Hi, everybody, and welcome to the ALS United Mid-Atlantic Goals podcast. I'm Tony Heil, and welcome to our podcast where we talk to people about their perspectives about how they've been impacted by ALS. If you've listened to any of our past dozens of episodes, you know that we've spoken with many different people that have a unique perspective and story when it comes to ALS. Some of those people are currently living with ALS. They may be caregivers, researchers, social workers, people here on staff, and even some people outside of the ALS community who are working on broader science and research issues, including funding for other diseases. Because when we work together, we can end ALS and we can collaborate towards better treatments and cures and improve quality of life as well. Today, I'm really excited to talk with my friend Bill O'Sullivan. You can see us in a recent video we shared on our YouTube page where we talk about supporting the ALS cause from coast to coast, from the Atlantic to the Pacific, with our friends from ALS Northwest, because we're here to support all people impacted by ALS. And he is currently living with ALS, and Bill has a unique perspective from his own family and as a veteran. So this is a special Veterans Day edition of our ALS United Mid-Atlantic podcast. So Bill, thank you so much for joining today.
Thanks. My name's Bill, as you said. I'm the oldest of 9 siblings, and I'm a Navy veteran, and I have ALS. My first symptoms started about 6 years ago, and I'm really excited to talk about ALS and share my experience and story. I think I have a little bit to share.
I know that you are a veteran, but what was harder, the service or being one of 9 children? Because that sounds even harder to me.
Well, my dad was a Navy chief. He did a career in the Navy and retired. He and I are the only ones out of the 9 that went in the military. But yeah, he moved around a lot. It was hard because, well, we moved around a lot till his last duty stations was at the old Philadelphia Naval Hospital. That's no longer there, but some of my brothers and sisters were born there. He was a computer data processor is what they called them. But basically, back then, the computers were like the size of, a semi truck.
Yeah.
But I'd say that was hard. I actually enjoyed my time in the Navy. I was in 22 years. I was a destroyer and cruiser sailor, so I spent a lot of time on ships in the engine rooms because I'm one of the tinklers. So, and then finally, out of that 20, towards the end, I was what's called a Master Chief Petty Officer, and I had the division for the entire ship for the engineering, 90 some guys, and I really enjoyed it. And a lot of them keep touch with me now and know that I have ALS and support it. Actually, donate to the walk that we go to. We'll talk about that a little bit. Um, the I would say the harder would be um, the military. Growing up as 9 brothers and sisters, we had 9 in the same house with one bathroom.
Goodness.
It was tough. That was tough.
Well, my grandfather was a Navy veteran as well. He passed away from
Good.
ALS, and so he was my motivation. He served in the Pacific area. He's in Alaska and then in Guam. How many places did you serve in?
Well, I was in just about the entire world, I guess, because I did ships on the West Coast and the East Coast. So there's not too many places I haven't been, but the ships were stationed in San Diego and Bremerton, Washington, in Norfolk, naturally. And then when you go on the ship, you go to a lot of different places. So, uh, yeah.
Well, I know from my grandfather's experience that being in the service really showed the importance of teamwork, of brotherhood, and coming together for a common purpose. Was your service, now that you are involved in the ALS United Walk and other ALS programs, does that experience help to encourage you as you get involved in our activities?
Yeah, like your grandfather and my dad and myself, you get lifelong friends in the military, and now even after I've been gone for quite a few years, we're talking 40 and 50 years ago, they're still like, if you seen them, you give them a hug and everything else. But as far as with the ALS, the military service organizations that help veterans, even if they had like a couple days in the military, have been fantastic. I'm sure you know the I know the ALS United has a pretty good, very good relationship with several of them, but and I belong to quite a few of them. I belong to Disabled American Veterans, VFW, and the Paralyzed Veterans of America, who are more geared for ALS because of the your immobility, and they've been fantastic working with the nurses from the ALS that help out. They know how to they know where everything's hidden.
Yeah, that's true. So I remember my grandfather's first symptoms. What were your first symptoms that led you to be diagnosed with ALS?
I started getting pain and arm weakness. I was working putting a ceiling fan in the bathroom. We live in an old house here, built in the 1880s, and we have a bathroom up top. So I was putting a new vent in, and I couldn't hold the vent up, which was unusual for me because I'm very mechanical and electrically oriented. That made me think that something wasn't right, And at that time, knowing that, and I'll get into our history a little bit, our family history, that my, mother and several of her siblings passed away from ALS. That kind of crossed my mind, but I kind of washed it away. It was at the during the when the COVID pandemic was just starting in 2020. Um, so it took me a little while before I decided to go see a doctor. And I went to my regular doctor and told him that I was having some pain in my arm and weakness. So he sent me, good doctor that he is, sent me to orthopedics, and they went through and did all things, and then they didn't find anything, and they sent me to neurology. They did some stuff and said, yeah, your EMG and nerve testing is not normal, but we don't see anything wrong. So naturally I said, can it be ALS since ALS is in our family? Oh, no, there's no way. I said, well, can I write that down and take that? Because naturally I wanted to believe that. And so what it comes down to, just like a lot of folks, it took over 18 months to finally get diagnosed that I did have it, including I had to go to therapy. I went to therapy, and it didn't get any better. And then that's when I decided to change neurologists for the third time and go to Hershey Medical Center because naturally I did a Google and they came up, and so did John Hopkins, and they're about the same distance. But we went to Hershey, and I'm glad we did.
Since you had, as you mentioned, a family history of ALS, was it something in your mind the whole time? So as they
Oh,
were going over
absolutely.
things? Yeah, I
Oh,
imagine so.
absolutely. Yeah, sure. I knew it. I knew that's what it was. But, we didn't know about that there was I didn't know that there was genes that were identified specifically for familial ALS. I had no idea. That wasn't when my mother and her brothers and sisters passed away. That was not even a thought anywhere in anybody's mind, right? I'm sure, just like your grandfather probably.
Hmm.
And so even when I was thinking I had it, I had no idea, and I didn't know that until I didn't even have an inkling about it till went to Hershey, and Doctor, I can't pronounce her name, Matalbo, I think, did supposed to do a half hour EMG and test, and it took 2 hours. I knew that wasn't out of the kindness of their hearts. Dr. Simmons mentioned the gene and got tested, and that's how it got started. But we had no idea. That opened up a lot of things for us to look at.
I've spoken with a number of people from Penn State Health Hershey Medical Center.
Yes.
It's nationally recognized, globally recognized even, as a center of excellence with care and research. Since you know about ALS already from your own family history and now being diagnosed with it, does that help knowing that you have centers like that in our area with such a high level of expertise that you can't necessarily get everywhere?
Yeah, it does. We I have some long distance distant cousins in our family tree that I've actually guided towards going to clinics because they didn't have them where they were at. And we kind of found each other online. My daughter's a snoop. She finds everything. And we got them going. They don't go to Hershey, but we hooked up with, for our gene, the National Institute of Health has a group that does our gene. And also Columbia University has a big study they're doing there that I'm part of. We've been able to help others in our extended family tree that came from Germany get into those programs. Or, I feel really good about that.
It's great. And I know you have felt good about being part of our wider ALS community because you've been involved and your family has been involved for a while through the ALS United Walk. I saw you at the Ocean City ALS United Walk, and you started that, your family did, before your diagnosis, right? When did they first get involved with the walk?
So my brother and Bob and his wife Donna, they're from New Jersey, and actually all my brothers and sisters live in New Jersey except for me. I'm the flighty one, and but they were down there on vacation when there was a walk in Ocean City, and that was like now 14 years ago. And they, our mother had passed away from ALS, and they joined the walk because they just happened to see it and were interested. And then they uh, put together a team and encouraged our family to participate in the Ocean City uh, annual walk and raise funds. And we've been doing it ever since for the last 14 years. And yeah, long before I was diagnosed. We were walking for our mother and her memory. And now we've expanded it to our mother and our generations because, especially when you know that you have a defective gene, there's a 50-50 chance for each one part of the family to get it. So anyway, so we're and that's our, we've been first a few years with raising funds. I think this year we were like maybe third or fourth. We weren't. There were some high rollers, which is good. We like that.
I feel like a lot of the teams at the walk, while they want to be first, they're also really excited when someone raises even more than them because they know what
Absolutely,
it's for.
absolutely, yeah.
And so, what is the walk like for you guys? It's a beautiful location, and we really appreciate the Gowdy family for starting and leading that walk for so many years. Our thoughts are with them, with Bob Gowdy right now. And so, tell us about what makes that walk so special.
Well, it gives us a chance as a family to get together and remember our mother and talk about that, raise some funds because we know that it's going to be a research and trials and tribulations that's going to finally figure out what's going on with this gene, or not gene, but the ALS altogether. And we're pretty confident it's going to happen. So I have not made personally, my wife and I have not made all 14 years because we live so far away and there's always pulls and tugs. But most of my brothers and sisters have gone every year, and it's got bigger. Cousins from Wisconsin have come, and like this last year, there was at 6 or 7 cousins that came that and walked. So it gets bigger. And if you look at your site, you can see it's a pretty big crew. And so it's a beautiful place, and the weather's it has always been good. Actually, I don't think there's ever been a bad day.
I've been at the
Yeah.
walk for over a decade now, and it's always good weather. We always seem very fortunate at that walk, and they always find something special to do with the Ocean City ALS United Walk, like whether it's an airplane or someone
Yeah.
playing instruments. They always do something to make it a special year.
Yeah, that was it's a nice time. It's like if anybody's interested in doing it, it's not the walk itself. It's just to go and talking because I know I I could not walk a couple of years ago. I had to go sit on a bench. You know, this year I had a power chair, so I was able to tool along. So it's different for everybody, but it's just the idea of the fundraising and the camaraderie. Everybody else is in the same boat, and we're all all trying to row in the same direction towards a cure, right?
Yep. Well, part of that rowing towards a cure is understanding the science of ALS. And like you said, you have this genetic connection, familial connection. When did you know that your mom's ALS was genetic? Was that before your diagnosis?
No, it was I didn't we didn't my family part of the tree did not know about it at all. We just knew that ALS ran in the family, and until I was tested when Dr. Simmons from Hershey recommended doing it, and actually I did it. I never even heard of it. I never even heard of a gene doing that. So, and from that, naturally, I'm sorry. I hope you can't hear that.
It's fine.
Anyway, it's just the ring bell out the other way. But
Hmm.
but I had it. We knew what it was. He, um, they get you together and talk about it. I asked him if I could record it because I wanted to share with all my brothers and sisters what you know what that meant, that I was positive. It was very good. He did a nice job explaining um, how genetic can be 50% of the folks are going to have, 50 won't. It's holding true for the my brothers and sisters that have tested or not tested, and not all of them have, and that's an individual decision. But the fact that he let me record all those things was fantastic. So I individually went on, with each one of them and shared that so that they can make decisions for their families. And I've also shared with some of the cousins I talked about that weren't involved anywhere with studies and stuff. So I had the opportunity to talk to Dr. Simmons about that at I can't think of what it was called now.
Hope and Hope Symposium.
Yeah, the symposium. Yeah. And I thanked him for doing that. He remembered once I told him that. But so that was fantastic. I encourage anybody that's having any health problems to record what they're doing because you're not going to remember. You got to play it back.
That's really good for Dr. Simmons to know because I know he's looking to have more recordings
Yes.
to get more information to people. And you've been a part of informing and educating through research. Uh, Tell us about how you've been involved in ALS research, how that started, and what that means to you.
Well, research means everything to me. The started almost immediately, um, and not just Hershey. We go quite a few different places, but at Hershey, they always have something that's either nationally or locally um, that that on. Let's see. I got a little piece of paper here somewhere. It has I got so many. I've been to so many of them. I guess it really doesn't matter which one, but a lot of them are at Hershey. We go to NIH because they study our gene specifically, and we go to Columbia. I talked about the gene we have. We're in a study with Columbia on what's called an ASO, and I'm not going to try to tell you what that means because I always screw it up. But basically, it's a delivery method of putting a drug into your spine to stop the bad proteins from being made that causes ALS and continues to kill your muscles. And there's only 13 of us in the world that have this ALS gene right now that are getting this ASO. We started over a year ago, and so far it looks pretty good. It's the same idea that you've probably seen with Tofferson with another gene,
Hmm.
and the we're thankful because our gene is so rare, but they're using what they find from us to help people that are not genetic because there's ties to all that. And since we have such a small portion of people that have it, most drug companies won't want to touch it because they're not going to make no money on that. So there's a an entity called NLORM, They they provide research and ASOs for, they call it nano rare conditions. Our family ALS is one of those. There's a lot of other types of diseases that they do it for, but they developed a drug and provide it for life to the patient that gets it for free, which you can't say that about big drug companies because they can't afford it. So we're thankful that we're in that study, that we can use that information to help others and our families. So far it's doing pretty good. We have a slow form of the ASO, or a slow form of the ALS progression, but everyone's holding their own, and some have actually maybe seen a little improvement. That might be something between the ears, but I can move my left hand that I couldn't do before, so I'm taking that as a good thing, right? So the whole idea of what they're trying to do is see if by stopping these bad proteins, which they can measure through a blood test, and it's knocked them down more than half, which is good. So they're hitting the target. Whether it slows it down enough that it maybe others that have the positive gene, if they start taking this, never get ALS.
Yeah.
So that's the end goal. And then what they're learning, what they're trying to learn from that is how can they do that for everyone, and that's the key to unlock. It's one of the keys. There's people working on all kinds of things for ALS. Don't get me wrong. Since we're so close to this, naturally, um, I've become an expert.
Well, yeah, give yourself credit because I know a number of people with ALS who have been involved in research and they become experts. They participate in trials, they understand it. For those wondering what ASO means, it is about antisense technology, and it will works by targeting and trying to neutralize uh, toxic or faulty genes. So trying to like turn it off or fix something that's wrong genetically. And antisense is just an interesting term for that. So we try and support that research and help people with ALS participate in studies to be involved in it. And I know your family has been very supportive of that as well. I'm sure that your family has helped you to participate in research throughout this.
Oh yeah, and also, I talked about the extended family from Germany. Our tree shows, you know, ALS. We've had well over 100 relatives that have had ALS over the years, a lot. And there's another family from my great 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 grandfather called the Webbers. They started a site called Next Gen ALS, and they're specifically raise money through meat raffles and stuff like that for genetic forms of ALS, including our gene, because it's our family, and we're all involved in that across the country in different. But I'm on the board on that one, and my niece is like the treasury, and they it's a nonprofit organization, and they raise money uh, specifically for that. It's a good feeling to we're all about raising money for everything. And that's just another way we're all working together to try to help figure out what this ALS is all about. Our goal this year was $225,000, and we're over 200 already.
That's
So,
fantastic.
yeah, for a family. Now it's a big family because we have a lot of branches on that tree. Because I don't know what it was about the Bauers Germans, but I think they like to have a lot of kids so they can have people working on the farms or something. But that's a good thing and a bad thing.
Well, I appreciate that. It means so much to have all of the cooperation and everyone coming together to support research funding. So let's end with that call to action here. If people are interested, they can, and I hope you are, you can join an ALS United Walk or donate to us or volunteer or advocate at alsmidatlantic.org. And of course, follow us at ALS Midatlantic. Bill, you've mentioned NIH funding and the different kinds of funding from the federal government. Can you just let us know how important it is to continue that funding at a federal level to support research because it's been so promising?
Yeah, it's very important. They actually, through different branches in the NIH, send money out for research to other teams. And if you go back, you look at like all ALS, even the one up there at Hershey in Columbia, they get grants from the NIH to continue their research, and it's very important that that continues. So I know things have slowed down a little bit with with some of that funding and the uncertainty and stuff like that, but they do a wonderful service. They got some great people there, and um, I was pleasantly surprised to see how much effort they put into ALS, and I had no idea. So, like, I have several of my brothers and sisters go there. Some of my cousins go there. My two kids go there for research, and they do a nice job there. The same thing with Columbia, and same thing down in Miami. They're all working towards the same goal of figuring this animal out.
Takes all of us working together, and that's why we are united to end ALS. Again, if you're interested in learning more about our services, research, and how to get involved, please visit us at www.alsmidatlantic.org. We want to say thank you to all veterans, whether they're living with ALS, their caregivers, or provided service to our country. We're very grateful for your service. Bill, thanks so much for sharing your story today. I know it will inspire others because it has inspired so many people already, and I wish you best of luck to you and your family.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tony.